There's a few questions left on how to hire an operator. We're going to kind of do these in a speed round. Then I want to go around the room, just get your biggest takeaway, so be thinking about that. And let's finish these, Hayley. So here's the first question. I'm going to start with the easy one. How do you build trust with an EA or an operator? Because here's the key, guys. This relationship has to be a relationship based solely and completely on trust. You can't challenge trust with your operator. So what would you say is important?
I would say from our experience, starting off in an EA position versus jumping straight to an operator and operations manager position has allowed us to thrive in our relationship, build that relationship, and really determine, like, I think him build trust in me and me build trust in him.
Yeah.
Because we got a chance to learn, like, each other's ticks. We got a chance to learn, like, how we should communicate with each other. And that takes time and energy. And also, I feel like had I been put directly into an operations manager position, I would have let him down because we wouldn't have built that foundation.
Yeah.
So I'd say, like, giving it time to understand, and, like, also just time and understanding with each other, because it's not going to come easy and it's not going to come immediately. It takes a lot of time to be able to build that relationship up and figure out how to communicate with each other and how to, I don't know, how to work through different scenarios with each other.
We gotta, like, understand each other's personalities. The other thing that's crucially important, like, here's what I would say about how to build trust with an EA. I don't cancel meetings with Hayley. I'm not late to meetings with Hayley, and if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And the last place that I'm going to miss something is in this relationship in the business. Because if I miss stuff here, then that challenges her trust in me doing anything anywhere. Now, that being said, we've gone through some really crappy weeks in the past couple weeks, and I missed a bunch of stuff. It's the exception, not the rule. So she knows that this is an exception. She knows I'm going to get back to my real self soon, and everything will be okay. But, like, I think the key to building trust with your EA or your operator is just doing what you say you're going to do and being in the meetings you're going to be in. Here's what will happen. If you're just rolling out the cadence, and if you're new to this, in your first couple of weeks, everything in the world is going to try and break your cadence. I just want you to know that. For those who have implemented, you already know this. Here's what happens. You go, Monday at 4 is going to be our weekly planning meeting, and 20 minutes later you get, Monday at 4, I've got the biggest opportunity call I could ever have, right? And that happens constantly. And what will happen is you will have this constant bargaining with your cadence. And here's what I would tell you. If you're starting this out, the way you build trust is doing what you say you're going to do. Just roll out the cadence and do it. And even if you're terrible at it, even if you're irritated in the meetings, if you show up, you're going to build trust.
I think another thing, too, is when I first started, there was so much transparency and then, like, allowing me to flourish in that role that I think really opened the door for me to explore how I could benefit him in other areas and the business in other areas. It was an immediate conversation, I think, day one, where he was like, just so you know, you're going to be privy to a lot of information, a lot of personal information about me and about my life and about Katie and about the business and about the family. And knowing that, like, I'm giving you that trust, I'm putting that trust in you, I'm like, holy shit, this guy barely knows me. I'm going to know all this crazy information about his life. But, like, allowing me to do that allowed me to, like, step myself into that role and take ownership of it. And I was telling Deanna this the other day. I was like, it's kind of like I have this closet. The closet is closed. I, like, pack all my baggage in it, pack all my trauma, I pack all my issues, I pack all, like, my previous horrible work experiences in this closet, and I, like, lock it up. And Alex comes over and he, like, opens the door. He's like, let it all fall out. I want to go through it with you. Like, let's dig through this pile of shit. Let's dig through it together. We'll pick some up. We'll toss some stuff away. We don't need to talk about that. That's okay. But, like, let's dig into it and let's pull out the little pieces that are, like, little nuggets of, like, gold that I know are in there. That, like, for every other job I've ever been in, I've had to close that away. And everything that I've ever gone through has, you know, that I've been either ashamed of or couldn't open or couldn't become, has been closed off in this door that he was like, no, I want to explore that. And that's allowed me, I feel like, to step into the role. Hopefully that was a good analogy.
I think the other thing is, don't hire an operator you're not excited to see succeed. Like, when I met Hayley, I was like, oh, I want her to succeed. When I met Deanna, I wanted her to succeed. Like Dustin, I want to see him succeed. My whole team, anybody on my team, like, I'm vested in their success. And it really is crucial here because you will hit tough times. We've hit tough times. Like, we've had some really tough times. We've had crazy shit happen in business. We've had people walk out on a Monday that had stuff due all week. We've had all kinds of stuff. But if you create trust here and you care about the person, I think it's a lot easier. The next question that we have is, how do you justify an EA salary if the business revenue doesn't support it? I want to start with this. I'll start. So here's first thing I want you to know, you're doing it wrong. Because if you're looking, here's whoever wrote this, who wrote it, by the way? Okay, here's what everybody does. They go, I need an EA. That's $40,000 a year. I don't have $40,000 right now. I can't have an EA. You don't need that. Here's what you need. You need something. We don't know what it really is. Let's figure out what it is. And if you guys both do time studies, you might find that with a 20-hour-a-week EA, you can get a ton of stuff done. So years ago, when we first started teaching this content, I had a woman named Gweb Dobemeyer in my class, and she had gone from having a team of like 15 people. She'd gone through the economic collapse, and it was just her. And she said in our class, like, I'm never hiring anybody again because of this, because I don't have the money, because it's $40,000, because all, and I said, Gwen, how much help do you think you need right now? And she's like, well, I mean, if I could get somebody to work 10 hours a week, it would change my life, but like nobody wants to work 10 hours a week. And I'm like, okay, Gwen, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna give you the description for an ad, and you're gonna place it tonight. Like before you go to bed, I want you to put it on Facebook, and we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. So we gave her a description for an EA, and we said, you know, at the bottom of it, it said 20 hours a week, flexible hours, work from home. The next day, she came in crying to our event. She's like, I want to show everybody what I got. And she had this package from a woman that was a VP at a Northern California tech company. She sent her disc profile, her resume, a sample of projects that she had done. She had been a vice president in a tech company at like $250,000 a year salary. She wanted $14 an hour. She just wanted to be productive somewhere. She just wanted to help somebody. So my first suggestion is, don't look at it as a full-time position. Look at it as what can you use right now that will help free the two of you up so that you can do more, so you can afford the full-time position. Because what I know working with entrepreneurs is even 10 hours is completely game-changing. So that would be my first comment. Do you want to add anything?
No.
So I would adjust the EA to what you can afford. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. We have a couple more.
I would also say, I do have one thing to add.
Go ahead.
That there's something to be said about opportunity too. If someone buys into like what it is that you're doing, like I would say they'd be willing to take something a little less for knowing the opportunity and the growth position that they could end up in as well.
Here's a good one for you, Hayley. As an operator, how do you break an EPT loop or spiral when you recognize that your boss is stuck in one? Well, I'm never in a loop or spiral, so she doesn't know how.
I address it lightly. I think that after developing a relationship with Alex in the way that we have, is I can have those conversations with him easily now. In the beginning, I maybe would have like tiptoed around it. I know Alex's tics. I would say I would know like what way that he likes to be addressed in conversations. I always come with solutions. I always come with options, and I never just throw a problem at him. And I know that that would overwhelm him. So I know that if I'm going to address a situation with Alex, that I'm coming with solutions. I'm coming with a reason and explanation why I think that this is a problem, and then how it affects him and the team. Those are like the three big things that I come with him if I'm going to address any issue.
Yeah, I think that's everything that Hayley just said, and I would just add, if you communicate your displeasure to your CEO, we never hear that shit. Mm-hmm. It's just an annoyed person, and I don't care about annoyed people, honestly. Most people are annoyed. So if you present as annoyed, I'm like, oh, look, you're like most people, right? And so it doesn't have any impact on me. If you come, so if somebody on my team comes and says, I'm really feeling like, and right there, I'm already like, okay, good, it's your problem, not mine, right? You're feeling it, go unfeel it. Right? And so, but if somebody comes to me and Hayley says, there's a vulnerability in the company and we're going to let clients down, I'm listening. Mm-hmm. Right? And or if she says, hey, I'm noticing something that's going to damage our ability to hit the numbers on our waterfall, or there's something here that's threatening our team, or there's something here that's threatening our outcomes, then I hear it. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the biggest challenges with communicating with CEOs is far too many operators trying to communicate from a me space and not a we space. If you communicate the vulnerabilities in the company, you're going to be heard a lot better than if you're communicating your discomfort. Mm-hmm. Is that fair? Yeah. Okay.
Let me just say, it's always nerve-wracking too. It like never gets like an easier conversation. I always have that like, oh shit, I got to tell him something he's probably not going to like to hear. But I had to do it this morning. But like, and before I had the conversation, I was like, I hope he responds well to this. And he immediately took it. And I think that building that trust, like he trusts my judgment on things too, and he takes it into account. And so I never feel like I'm not heard.
And I, as a CEO, and this is for the other side of the coin, if you're the CEO in the conversation, here's the key, guys. Don't ever shut your operator down. Like a lot of operators become ineffective over time because they present negative information, they get negative feedback or negative attitude back, and then they're like, well, I don't want to go back to that well. And so when Hayley comes to me with anything that's broken, I'm like, I'm so glad you found this. Let's figure out what it is. If she comes to me with a personal criticism, I sit there and I'm like, breathe through your nose. Don't react. Like, accept this. This is real. She's doing this because she cares about you and your business. And like, I'm telling myself those things because I don't even want to have a physiological reaction that's negative. I don't ever want her. You heard what she just said. We've been working together over a year. Like, there's a tremendous amount of love here. Can you guys see that? And even though there's a tremendous amount of love and respect and trust, when she has to bring something negative to me, she's nervous. So I have to accept that she's always nervous and it's always difficult for her, and then I make it easier for her. And then that makes it so she's more willing to come to me, because here's what a lot of operators do. Operator brings you something, they get yelled at. Like, now that part of their brain that looks for problems kind of starts getting shut down. Like, it's not something that you can consciously do or undo. It's an unconscious issue that an operator will literally start ignoring stuff because their brain goes, I saw something, going to fix it, getting yelled at, okay, just keep going. So don't yell at your operator. Like, do not ever react here. This is a love relationship. This is a respect relationship. This is a trust relationship. If I'm irritated, I actually say, Hayley, I am so fucking irritated with this. I'm glad you brought it to me. So I'm like, I'm irritated with the thing. I'm glad with you. You know, you're still important to me. So.
And we always make sure we have that conversation too. It's not you. Like, we're having a conversation about this situation. And I think, like, we always kind of joke around it. Like, if I want to tiptoe around something with Alex, I'll be like, so how are you feeling today?
Yeah, I always know I'm going to get something.
I'll be like, yeah. So, are you feeling triggered today? What's going on? And he knows when I'm saying little things like that, he'll be like, oh, like, what did I do today?
Yeah,
what did I do? Be like, how did I react? And I'm like, he'd be like, did I react? Was that rude? And I'm like, yeah, probably.
Okay, last
question. What do you think?
Well, guys, that's the other thing. So here's where this relationship has gotten to, no joke. If I act in a way that's inappropriate in the business, I never knew before. Like, your emperor's new clothes, right? You're walking around butt naked. So if I do something that's inappropriate today, Hayley will reach out to me afterwards and say, like, hey, are you okay? She doesn't say, hey, why were you an asshole? She says, are you okay? What's going on? Is there something you need to unload? Do we need to talk? Do I need to get something off of your plate? That I hear 100% of the time. If Hayley left me a boxer and said, hey, you shouldn't talk to the team this way, what's my instant response, CEOs? It's fucking my And so instead, she communicates it in a way where it doesn't push those buttons. Because believe me, every CEO in here is in here because you've not following anybody else's rules. Right? Like, at the end of the day, it's because, like, guys like me, guys like all of you women who are in here running businesses, you couldn't go comply with somebody else's rules, so you had to make up your own. And so just understand that if you, like, allow people to tell you what's really going on, man, you get so much better at what you're doing. It's humbling every day, but it makes you a better CEO. And if you don't have the business you want, you haven't become the person who can run it yet. By following this process, you will become that person.
Over time, you'll learn what behaviors your CEO and your operator are having that are triggering for them. So, like, if he's reacting a certain way to people, I know that he's overwhelmed in some way. And so I know it's not an intentional thing, and he's probably completely, like, he doesn't know he's doing that, or that's the way it's coming off at all. And so I'm always going to approach it in a way that, like, what's going on? Like, I know something's happening. I know that you're feeling something or something's going on in your brain. Like, what do we need to do to work through that? Because it's never an intentional. And he does the same thing for me. He'll be like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, I think we should jump on a call. I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I think we should jump on a call and talk about how you're feeling today.
Let's get on a call.
and I'll be like, we'll jump on a call and be like, what's wrong? I'll be like, nothing. I'm good. He's like, what's wrong?
Let's go over to the closet.
I'm
Let's
good.
Open it up.
Yeah. I know that's going to be the new thing. Like, open up that closet.
So last question, and this is, I think, for you, Hayley, because it's the CEO-operator relationship. Who asked this? How do you transfer tactical stuff from CEO to operator? And here's the tone it was asked in. Do you just go in and say, I'm taking this over now? Who asked that? Question. Is that you? Okay, good. Good. So it's a really good question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I nurture it over the course of every couple of months. We look at it. I'm constantly reviewing his calendar and his schedule, and especially like I'm playing off of his mood and what he's doing and how busy he is. And when he's overwhelmed, I know that there's a problem probably in his calendar. There's something he's doing that he shouldn't be doing, and it's pretty obvious to me. I think just because we've built that relationship again over time, I know when that's happening. And so I immediately know, okay, let's go look at your calendar. And then if I'm not fully seeing everything, okay, you're gonna do a time study. Okay, what are we pulling off? We'll look at it in depth, and I'll go through on Monday morning, and I'll send him a box, and I'll say, what's this appointment? What's this appointment? What's this appointment? Why are you on this? Do you need to be on this? We'll go through that, and he'll be like, I don't know. I don't know, Hayley. Can you figure it out for me? I don't know. And I'll be like, okay, I'm taking it off your calendar. So like we'll go through this whole process and reevaluate probably every quarter what he's doing, what he should be doing, and what he shouldn't be doing. And I will automatically just say, I'm taking this. Yeah, I will. I'll go and I'll just take it. Yeah.
All the time.
So we do that every quarter. Yeah.
No, it's constant. Hayley will say like, and we just had this conversation 2 weeks ago because we're about to cross the $3 million threshold, and the two of us have been talking about it because we live by the billionaire code. And to get to the next level from 3 to 10 million, I'm going to have to be really focused on building infrastructure and building leadership team. And Hayley's going to have to be really, really focused on 20,000-foot metrics and understanding the whole business, not from a personnel standpoint, but from a productivity standpoint. Those are huge, huge transitions. And so I need her to come to me and say, I'm taking this stuff away. Like that's how it works. And just recently, we've decided that we're going to take me down to 3 days of productivity in the company. Like I'm gonna allow the team to schedule 3 days of mine, but all of my meetings are already in there. So we're going down to 15 hours a week. So that level of like the team only gets 15 hours a week. Now that's going to have to pass through Hayley. So she says, I'm going to be spending the most productive 15 hours with the team. And so, yeah, you have to take stuff away from the CEO, and it eventually gets to the point where she's managing me.
It allows us to prioritize what he's doing.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Dang, that was the best throw I've ever done.
Good teamwork. Okay, so 3 days a week. I'm doing that too. So my question is, are you still going to attend the huddles on the other 2 days?
Yes. Yeah, that's the only thing.
And then that's the only thing? And
That's
then
the
is it
only
like
thing.
just optional, like what Emily talked about, kind of?
And so my intention is like self-care is huge for me, so I'm going to spend those days for self-care. But I'm a content person. I create, And recently I've been doing a lot of like corrections and updating, but I haven't been doing a lot of like high-level creation. And when that starts happening, I know that I'm doing too much, and so that's why we're reducing me down. Plus, I also. There's a point where you become a liability in the business. If you remember when Daniel said the business runs better without me, that's really true. Because as entrepreneurs, we are like we're destructive because we want to find problems and fix the problems. And when you have a business where everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, and you throw an entrepreneur in to fix problems, you suddenly have problems you didn't have. And so part of cutting me down to 3 days a week too is that like I need to let go of a lot of stuff right now. I have to actively divorce myself from a lot of outcomes. Like I'll see them on the waterfall, I'll know that they're happening, and I'll get reporting on them, but I have to stop trying to be proximate to them. So part of that is like really pushing me out of the business.
Yeah, my team does better when I'm on vacation.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not him being absent, it's him doing what he should be doing. And that's like, we need him to be the visionary. We need him to figure out what it looks like down the road and be able to bring that back and make that plan and help guide that and direct that. That's what he's supposed to be. And when he's built in that day to day and he's bogged down with those meetings every day, he's not being the best CEO he can be for us. And like, then we're also taking advantage of that time. That time is much better spent doing that. So this allows us to make sure that we're really focusing on those 17 hours that he has, and those are spent doing what's most productive for him so that he can be the CEO that we need him to be.
Let's go to Laura, and then we'll come up here.
Sorry, this is off topic, but I have to, and I don't want to leave without this question.
No worries.
It's the question I asked yesterday about knowing when you can afford to hire somebody and how to accurately count the total impact of hiring somebody beyond just their salary. If you have.
So like how much does it cost total?
Yeah, like I always grossly underestimate by the time you have in like, payroll tax, workers' comp, benefits, I think it's going to cost this, but it really costs a lot more than that. Or just like knowing, I know you can determine when you need someone based on a time study and a 4R, but that doesn't
That
always-
doesn't mean the money's there.
Correct.
Yeah. So we use a combination, Laura. So the CEO metrics show you what you're making per person, and it shows you if there's money left over to hire somebody. And then when we look at hiring someone, we look at the salary plus 20%. So if it's a $40,000 salary, we know it's going to really be more around $48,000 because we have JustWorks and we have Growth Force where there's a salary component. Can you hit the space bar over there? I might have just lost power. Eddie, can you? And so we use 20%, Laura. It's a bit of an exaggeration. It's a little too much. Like it really is about 16%, but we just use 20 to be safe. And then we look at where's the revenue of the business and what is the impact going to be. And so if we have the money, we hire. If we don't have the money, we don't. But it's a combination of knowing the full amount you're going to spend and then looking at your CEO metrics on a monthly basis. Molly? Did that answer it, Laura? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I have a question about profit margin. I feel like ours is really low, but I also have no idea like what it should be.
What's your margin, Molly?
So it's 10%, and Aaron and I both take salaries from the business too.
So is the margin before or after your salary?
After.
Okay, so we always do it before. So when we're in a room like this, we talk about before salary margins because at the end of the day, like he might say he has a 10% margin. You might say you have a 10% margin. He's taking like $2,000 a month. You're taking $100,000 a month. You have a much bigger margin. So
I'm not taking $100,000 a month.
So Katie, so
But
what
that would be awesome.
what if you add yours and Aaron's salaries back in? How much is the margin?
I don't do math, so I don't know.
Well, take a look at that because
Okay.
here's
What should it be for like a team of 9 people?
okay. So here's the thing,
Yeah.
Molly. If you want to, you can go find tables that will tell you how much margin you should have at what level of business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand them. I don't know who put them together. I've asked. Mike Michalowicz was at an event. It's sharing, what's his book? Yeah, Profit First, the envelope system for business. And he handed out a thing that said, this is the margins you should. And I asked, like, hey, how do you justify this? How did you get to this? Like, who said that this is where it should be? And he's like, well, we just did surveys of a bunch of businesses, and that's where most of them were. Like, okay, so it's bullshit. I just wanted to make sure. Totally cool. So
really, it's what you're.
let's get really, really fair. And so here's, right. So Molly, here's how we look at profit margins. We watch them like crazy and we drive them as high as we can. I think if you're in the information products business, if you're in the retail business, like margins can be similar if you run your business the right way. It's about tracking them and driving them up.
Okay, because right now I care more about building the team, and Aaron really wants the high profit margin. So it's like we're trying to kind of balance that, I guess.
We just went through that same cycle. So we went through a pretty significant investment cycle in the team that drove our margins down. Mm-hmm. And now we're at the place where we feel like we have the team where we can drive revenue to have our margins be massive.
That's helpful because that's exactly what I'm doing.
That's what we just did.
Perfect, thank you.
You got it. Oh, cool. One last question here. Can you throw it up, Molly?
I'm gonna need a middle person, I think.
Need a handoff?
Okay, this is an operator-related question. It's actually 3 questions. All related, all related.
One last question, just kidding.
So Hayley seems very confident and very much like a driver. Was she always that way? Were you always that way? Or was it the systems and the processes and the environment that helped you to feel more confident?
Are you high key?
Yes.
I'm a 90-90. Yeah. But I would say I actually wasn't as confident when I first started. I think that was fostered.
Whoa.
It's done.
Okay, that's cool.
I think I came in with a lot of
Baggage.
Yeah, previous work experience baggage of not being appreciated and feeling like I was overworked and underappreciated. And so I lacked confidence. And I think that was built up by the trust that Alex instilled in me. And like, I think I took it as like, wow, someone who's the CEO of a business, this is his baby. And he actually wants to know what I think. He thinks that like there's value there, and I took that to heart, and that I think that over time built up allowed me to be confident.
And how long did that take, would you say, before you felt confident to push back and drive things forward?
A couple months, I'd say. Probably like 1 to 2 months. Our system works pretty quickly. And within 3 months, I was transitioning to an operator role. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I hire the D, but guys, you can take a very high D person. A high DC is like a very magic operator profile if you can find a high DC. But if you're mean to a high DC, they shut down and run away. Like, they will show up like crazy, but if you hurt them, if you, like, when you were hurt as a high DC, didn't you hide within corporations?
Oh, yeah.
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 So you can have an amazing operator and turn them into an absolute speed bump by being mean to them. So don't. And then again, this relationship, like, you show up, you support. I'm constantly asking Hayley, like, what does she need? What can I do? We use the overwhelm equation. It's in the platform. You know, there's two ways. There's two things you need to do to solve overwhelm. It's very easy. You need to let somebody get everything out, get clear about where they are, and then figure out what their one next step is. Like, what are they going to do? So when I'm coaching anybody on my team who's in a state of overwhelm, it's two things. Tell me everything that's going on, and I just sit there and take it like sounding board. And then I say, okay, well, what's one or two things we could do to step forward from this? And I will never tell them. Solving is not serving. I want them to say it. And so if that happens, like, there's been times where Hayley's been completely overwhelmed, like to tears overwhelmed. Within 10 or 15 minutes, we're right back in a place where there's trust here and we're both in the right place. I mean, there's been times where I'm completely overwhelmed and she's doing the same thing for me. Like, literally, I'm sitting there talking to her and I'm like, dang, she's doing the overwhelm equation on me. It's working. I'm just going to keep talking. You know, like, I'm feeling better even though I get the strategy.
Yeah. And it's not perfect. Like, it's not a perfect relationship.
Never.
There are many times he's irritated with me and I'm irritated with him, and like, we work through it because like it means something and it's important, and like, we know we've got a good thing going, and so we just work through it. Yeah.
Yeah. In the last couple quarters, like, the irritations are almost like funny. You know, you get to this place where it's just the relationship's more important than what you're doing, and so we put more emphasis here than anything else.